Peace, peace, peace. I am Philip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the July 22nd edition of Rhetorically Speaking. Props to those of you who are watching on Instagram Live. As always, head on over to YouTube where you can see the whole production. Ain't nothing really popping off really production wise today, but it's just it's better for your viewing pleasure. If you're on YouTube, I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, because again, I may be able to monetize in like 2021. I think I maybe need to give it up. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm that cool. I ain't got nothing that's popping like that for me to get a million zillion followers. I think I need to. I'm about to just go out here and start trying to gain attention by any means necessary. Like maybe that's what Brother Malcolm was talking about. And last but not least, props to those of you who are watching on Facebook Live. You too can hit the share button so your people, your folk can participate in this conversation. Speaking of participation, yo, shout out to my homie, best DJ in the city, DJ I Am Fishing. Check him out for all your party needs. See, that's what we do, right? That's what we supposed to do. I don't think the brother bought a T-shirt from me. You know what I mean? I know him dang near half my life, probably even more than that at this point. He ain't buy a T-shirt from me. But what I say, go support my man DJ Fishing. That's DJFSHN. Don't ask me why he took the I's out or he's missing the G at the end of his name. That's still my man, so I'm still going to show love. You know what I mean? shout out to him too. Did. So, speaking of participation, you can zoom in and we could get it popping, have some conversation. No, he talk about, do you want to start the list of all the stuff I got? No, I mean, that's what we do. We do for one another. You know what I mean? I bring a bottle, he bring a bottle back when I was in my drinking bag. That's just what friends do. Friends support friends. So definitely salute to him. But speaking of participation, if you do want to zoom in and have some conversation, like I said, I don't necessarily have anything really to talk about today. You can do that and you see the links on whether you on IG, YouTube, or Facebook. You see the Zoom information. So feel free to come through. We could talk about whatever it is that you're trying to talk about, right? So I was trying to figure out where I should start, because usually I might do this, just pull up IG and just start rambling. So I'm like, let me make this purposeful and useful. Again, creating content is always fun. I enjoy this, right? Whether I got 0 people tuned in or whether I got 100 people tuned in, this is cathartic for me. It helps me hone a skill. I'm not necessarily one who loves speaking in public, even though that's one of the things that I do for a living. And so anytime I have the opportunity to improve my public speaking skills, I'm going to take it. Surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly, just how the beginning of my academic career began, I got a D in public speaking. No, I didn't take it again, because people think public speaking is just getting up and talking in front of people. But no, it's about preparation. For that class, we had to talk about, we had papers to write and all of that. So I end up getting a D. So as far as what I'm here to talk about, listen, nothing much, honestly. Here in Philadelphia, it's been a lot taking place as far as, and I guess they're the two pandemics, gun violence and COVID. And so today, Philly health officials came out and they recommended that everybody, whether you vaccinated or not, should wear a mask. Due to the spread of this new, can I throw up the Delta? I ain't gonna throw this the Rock. I'm claiming it as the Rock, the Delta variant. Y'all get what I'm saying. Shout out to my homegirl LA who is a Delta, and so I'm gonna call her up if anybody want to give me static for her. But they're recommending that everybody mask up at this point. And my thing is, it's kind of too little, too late. It's like once you take the training wheels off, or you give your child a car, and they get carte blanche, they can make whatever decisions they want to do. That's what people are going to do. If there's no rule, if there's no mandatory rule in place, people aren't going to adhere for the betterment of society. That's just not how we operate, especially in 2021. And so it's too little too late. They should have kept the mandate going. And I understand where they were. It was a lot of political pressure, right? If the CDC, once the CDC says you don't have to wear a mask, who's going to wear it, right? People weren't anticipating a Delta variant, or at least I don't even want to say people weren't anticipating it, because again, all of this have has is well documented if you do your research, but it's not necessarily being promoted to the people until it's too late. Sort of like the COVID virus, right? And no matter what administration it is, it's they're all seemingly dropping the ball. And so, whether I'm going to wear a mask or not, I haven't concluded as to whether that's something I want to do at this point. Yes, I am vaccinated. I try to take into account my fellow human being who hasn't made the bright decision to wear a mask, and it makes you think, right? It's just like, if they don't care about their lives, why should I? Why should I have the moral integrity to care about somebody else's well-being because they don't? And I think that's what we're asking people to do when they say, listen, everybody should mask up again. No, we're not going to mandate it because we can't afford, everything is about dollars and cents. And so we can't necessarily afford to do a shutdown again. We can't necessarily mandate businesses at this point to enforce a mask mandate. Now we see in LA, they saying, listen, we're not playing that game. Everybody put a mask on. It's mandatory again. Because again, they see the spike that's taking place here in Philadelphia. There has been an increase in cases. It hasn't been to the rate of Florida, because we know Florida, we know Texas. I mean, I don't know why they just don't just, what is it, secede? Is that what it is? Somebody Google that word for me. I don't know why they don't just secede and just go do their own thing, because we recognize that it's not about the well-being of the people. Some would argue, and anti-vaxxers would argue, that that's not the responsibility of the government to worry about what's happening with humanity. And then conversely, my argument is, then why do we have government then? Right? If it's the idea, and I don't know if it was Ayn Rand, I'm not too well versed in her philosophies, but it was the idea of taking somebody from an ungovernable bunch and putting them in place to govern. How productive is that? Right. And so, people who view it from a different perspective would say, listen, it's just for, fiscal reasons, right? It's for as manufacturing, it's for, import export, whatever that whole terminology is. The word escapes you right now, but it's not necessarily to tell people what they should and should not do. And so, with that being said, it's like, it's personal choice, unfortunately, right? And so if we care about one another, if we care that individuals under the age of 12, it hasn't been authorized for them to get vaccines, so they're still vulnerable. And we know that children have been hospitalized. We know that children have died from COVID. Then it will behoove everybody to just mask up again. But again, we've evolved, or maybe some will call it devolved, into more of an individualistic society, which in cases that impact everybody, that individualism, that rugged individualism, shows itself. So that's my thoughts on that. As far as, the gun violence that I talked about, I saw a presser today that took place. It's probably in West Philly, and I saw this white woman up there talking. She may be a city council member. I have no idea, because I did see other city council members surrounding her as she was talking about gun violence, and how it's the highest in X amount of years, and how it's in 14 concentrated areas, mostly where black and brown individuals are located. Because again, the gun violence isn't happening where I live in Northeast Philadelphia, right? Not to that rate. So I was sitting there watching and listening, and she was, giving statistics that people really don't care about, right? Because if people really cared about statistics, and when I say people, I'm talking about, the powers that be. I know Jamie Gaultier, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, with the, what's that, little French. She implored Mayor Kenny here in Philadelphia to declare a state of emergency. I have no idea what a state of emergency would entail, and I know had a list of some specific outcomes that she desired and she felt would be beneficial for her community, who's been hit hard. But as far as overarching what a state of emergency would look like and what it would do, I have no idea. And I think that's part of the problem. So when you see Mayor Kenny say, "No, I'm good," it's just like, "Oh, you don't care about gun violence," as opposed to, well, what does a state of emergency or declaring it a public health issue, what does that look like? Does that mean we get more money from the feds? Does that mean more money gets allocated rather, to different areas? I did see that the money that was passed in the most recent budget, the millions of dollars that was supposed to go to gun violence prevention, is still sitting somewhere. It's still sitting somewhere chilling. And remind me to talk about Van Jones when we talk about money sitting somewhere chilling, because I got some thoughts on the good brother. So I was sitting there watching this presser take place, and watching her talk, and I'm like, okay, I see the city councilman behind her, and I'm like, I wish I could see. And who was it? I think it was Chris. I wish he would have panned the crowd at some point so I can see who is out there. What's the demographic? What's the ages of the individuals out there? What's the number of people that are the amount of people that are out there for this presser? I had no idea that it was taking place. I know that when I was watching, it was roughly 8 to 9 people watching at a time when I watched briefly for these 10 minutes, and then I had to turn it off. Why? Because another episode of Snap was coming on that I haven't seen. And so, if we're going to talk about the lack of support, and I don't say that shamefully, right? I do my role, right? I do what I can do to help the cause by, being a therapist, by, doing these various things related to mental health. So I feel like I can turn it off, right? But if we're talking about only 9 people are on there, and we're talking about, let's say 20 people who are in attendance, who's actually seeing this, right? Who's actually, I don't want to say caring, because why? People have to go to work, people have jobs. Again, that's part of the issue when we talk about poverty. Poverty is, one of the social determinants that impact gun violence, right? And so it makes you question, like, first, why is this happening at 10 in the morning, 9 in the morning? Who's available to be there? Usually your senior citizens, your older people, the individuals on disability, who may show out. You might have a few intellectuals from your local university come through. But who's not there? And I talked about this last week. The people committing the violence, right? The people committing the violence. They not there. God bless the dead. I saw three young fellas get shot yesterday. 2 of them died. It was in close proximity to a daycare, because we got to sensationalize it and make sure and let people know that it was within a few feet of a daycare, because then maybe people will get up in arms, or maybe people will just click the heading and read the article so the reporting source can get paid. And so we have to question these things, like, talk about the timing of this. We know that if a large majority of people are at work, or if they're asleep, why are we having this at 9 a.m., at 10 a.m., when those most impacted, either as perpetrators or victims, aren't present or can't be present? I mean, if we're talking about reducing gun violence, and I said yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday, right? Even though gun violence is elevating, America is still as safe as it's ever been. But that doesn't drive ratings. That doesn't help quell the very real fears of a people, especially if you're in one of these high risk communities. People say, Phil, what's the solution? Fam, I have no idea. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to be able to think of solutions for gun violence because they not cashing me out, right? Like I can't, and just stated, as if I can't attend because I have to go to work, how can I truly think and strategize about gun violence when I have all of these other responsibilities to take place? And so that's always, it's one of those situations where, those individuals who are a part of these communities who might really want to be a part of the solution, or even the intellectuals who want to be a part of solution. They say, it's that faulty thinking of, people make time for things that they care about. That's not true. Sometimes you just ain't got it. Sometimes you just ain't got the time, or sometimes just energetically you do not have it. So I can only imagine being somebody like myself, being a therapist, wearing these different hats, being a parent, and still being asked to give more. Is that realistic? Especially when you have these so-called experts out here who you are funneling these millions of dollars to, but nothing has been successful. But even when we talk about being able to get money from this new budget, there's probably going to have to be some vetting, right? Because we can't just give somebody $1 million and because they say, yo, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. We know it has to be some type of it has to be a nonprofit. They have to have a track record. There has to be some evidence based, what we call evidence based, some white supremacy credentials that exist in order to even get the little bit of chump change that they might be handing out to your organization. Shit, maybe if you just gave $5,000 out to somebody and say, "Yo, take a month off from work," potentially, that might not be realistic. But hey, we just want you to come and be a part of this, so we gonna cash you out. So even in our solutions, we still have to recognize the impact that capitalism has. Unfortunately, it can't just be about feeling good or helping out the community. That don't feed nobody. And so yeah, you can see a whole bunch of city council members because they getting paid what 90 to 100,000. They getting paid more than state reps. Truth be told. And so I'm not gonna say that there's a disconnect that exists, but I'm gonna say that there's a disconnect that exists. Even with people who have the noblest of efforts, there's a disconnect that exists between the two. And when I say between the two, I'm talking about what their intentions are and their efforts versus what it really takes. Because if we're talking about stopping gun violence, we're talking about this is a 24/7 effort by everybody, not just a select few who might come out to some gun violence events, but it's a 24/7 effort by everybody. I haven't heard anything regarding the school district of Philadelphia. Shout out to those buildings that still got asbestos falling from the ceiling that kids got to go back to while still trying to cross over and Eurostep COVID. I still haven't heard, this collaborative piece between all of these various systems that influence gun violence. And so calling an emergency, what does that do for the boy? What is his name? William Height, and his role and responsibility in gun violence, because he plays a part. What does it say for healthcare that plays a part in gun violence? And so, if we look at it from a macro perspective and all the systems that are involved, it's going to be damn near impossible to see a decrease to where somebody's able to say, okay, cool, the number's lower. I don't know. I'm just rapping. Now, I know I said something about Van Jones, I think. Right. So, Jeff Bezos went to the moon or space. I ain't got Whitey on the moon queued up. But Van Jones was given $100 million by Jeff Bezos to do as he pleases. Is it pleases? Can I say pleases? Hell, I can do what I want. I'm gonna say pleases. Van Jones could do as he pleases. And so I saw, and I'm not too familiar, with Booker T. Washington. I saw Karen Hunter ask if Van Jones was the new Booker T. Washington, because he make white folk comfortable. And I saw somebody reply, "Yeah, that's an apples to apples comparison. Except he ain't create nothing. He ain't build any structure, any systems. But yet he got 100 mil." And so it makes you think about what is it about him that makes Jeff Bezos so comfortable to give him that type of money. And then the next question is, how is he going to disseminate this money? Now, I equated it to it was a Saved by the Bell episode where Zach Morris, they had this ROTC episode, and they allowed Zach to pick the teams. And so it was him, it was like Slater, it was Jesse, I think it was like Moose versus like Lisa, Screech, and the other quote unquote nerds. And that's what they pretty much doing for Van Jones. Except in that episode, Screech and Lisa and them won. Now, if you're not Van Jones' man, you think you're gonna get a taste of that 100 mil? We know Charlamagne gonna get something. He might break Whoopi off with like $1 mil or $2 million. I'm trying to think of anybody else that Van Jones banged with. Is it black people on CNN? Is Angela Rye still there? Maybe he might give Angela Rye like a couple $100,000. Instead of giving it to institutions like his ex-wife did. Instead of giving it to places that could actually utilize the funds and benefit from them directly, he gives it to this bull. And maybe I'm hating, because I don't know if I could hit somebody up right now and ask for $10. You know what I'm saying? Let alone somebody say, "Here, I'm gonna give you 100 mil, and you do what you want with it." I know what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't give away that entire 100 million. I may give out, if I'm feeling generous, I will give out like 50. Maybe, matter of fact, I will give out 51, just to say I gave out more than I kept. And maybe we're going to see. Maybe we won't get the opportunity to see who Van Jones really is, because that's what you can tell. Money shows you who people are. Clearly, you see, if I had $100 million, money gonna change the hell out of me. You think I would be doing this live? Shout out to Dr. Shay, says she gonna give me $10. I hear you. I think you owe me. As many times I've been on that Friday show, check Dr. Shan out on every Friday on Black Doctors Org, talking about mental health and all those other things. But as many times as I done came through on short notice, you owe me like $20. But as I told you, when you go over to Fox Soul and you get your show, just look out for a brother. That's all I ask. You know what I mean? Take me with you. Take me with you. Kylie says, street flowing with free money right now. Still no, still no bueno. Is there more money out here? I'm just trying to get my little coins up. As I talked about how much I get paid. I mean, you always invited. You see the Zoom in right now if you want to come through. Yeah, but I'll wait till I'll give you a formal invite at some point. You be so busy, you Hollywood, man. You know, I'm regular Phil. But yeah, I'm worried about my coins. I know I posted, and I don't think I talked about it. I posted how much I got paid for being an adjunct at Grand Canyon University. I have no problem in saying their name. They cashed me out with a cool $900. Get your bag, kid. Greg Canyon cashed me out with a cool $900. And I wish I could show you this paper that I had to grade today from these 10 students. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching, I'm monitoring 10 students. I'm not even teaching. This isn't teaching at all. But I'm teaching 10 students over 8 weeks for $900. And the requirements are I have to log into the system four times a week. I have to make 2 substantive posts. I have to make and there's 3 credits. There's three credits, Marcel. And it's a Jesus University. You know what I mean? And so with a Jesus University, I have to. They want me to first. I had to create a prayer form. Right, so people, whatever takes place in the prayer form, and then I got to give a scripture every week to start off the week. Now, I need to start posting scriptures talking about where's my money. That's what I need to do. Because y'all wealthy. And I'm gonna say this, and there's no shade to you, Marcel, right? Because I like you, I roll with you. I think your musical taste is kind of questionable at times. But when I post, and I had a sister do this, and I ended up having to block her. When I post that I got $900 from Grand Canyon, it's not necessarily for you to tell me what you get at your university. I don't need the weird flexes, and that's kind of a weird flex. You know what I mean? Because if so if we take this to street terms, that's like me talking about, yo, I'm hungry out here, and somebody walked past me. I just got the new Space Jam LeBrons, and somebody walked me with the new Space Jam LeBrons on. You might get punched in the mouth, or it might be a proverbial punch in the mouth. You know what I mean? Because you already feeling kind of bad. Not that I'm feeling bad about the $900. Because listen, it's the game. It's just, you know what I mean? But it's not necessarily to hear about how well you're doing. And I had a sister get on. And she was like, oh, I get X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, fam, why do I care? And then she made a subliminal post about it ain't my fault you getting peanuts. She ain't at me though. And I'm like, one thing about me, if I'm talking about you, I'm gonna at you. I'm gonna say your name. Call me Destiny's Child. I might not be Beyonce, but I'm damn sure Kelly. I'm gonna say your name. But I think that's where we are in society when we talk about this whole social media thing. Man, you ain't gotta apologize. It ain't nothing. But I think it's something we got to be mindful of, man. Like, but again, it's on me, right? Because I posted it, and so once you put something in the atmosphere, no different than when I was talking about Meek Mill. Once you put something in the atmosphere, unless you're specific about your intentions, you got to take what comes with it. Nia says there was no need for her to say that. That's what I thought. I felt like I was just trying to let people, and I had a macro reason for posting it, just to let people know how adjunct is the chewing gum at the bottom of people's shoe. Like even Marcel, you say you get a stack to teach one credit course at your institution. That's cool. Or is it cool? Right? Because think about how much money they're bringing in versus the compensation that not only that you're receiving, but the work that it requires. And so when we talk about adjuncts, we know the majority of professors at universities are part-time employees. They are not tenure people. And so what does that mean? That means you do not have health insurance. You still got to go through the marketplace. Or just freeball it and not have insurance. But you're still doing the same amount of work. And so the work that I'm doing at Grand Canyon, again, they say you gotta, my goal is to end up in academia. But you need experience, right? And so the more experience that I can accumulate, especially when we talk about credential inflation out here, the more experience I can get once I do graduate and I'm able to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, this is what I desire, pay wise. I have the experience to back it up. Now, granted, that's not the only place that I teach, and in full transparency, I have no desire to teach at this university after these couple weeks. The only reason I haven't quit was due to integrity issues. Like white folk care about that. See, you see the shit that black folk got to deal with. Like I got to think about the integrity. I got to think about how it's going to the perception of black folk if I indeed quit. How that impacts all of us, even though it doesn't. It's not an accurate reflection. White supremacy is a mother sucker, ain't it? But if we talk about adjuncts being the chewing gum at the bottom of the sneaker, at Grand Canyon, you might be fertilizer at the bottom of the Puma. Nia Wilbur says, however, to inform is important, but it's how you go about that. For sure. For sure. But but even with that, it's still incumbent upon me as the poster. Like, I can't take shit personal, but as the world know, I'm super sensitive. Hence the reason why I'm not on Twitter. Twitter just it's too rich for my blood. I don't even remember where I was going with that. I don't know, because when I think about, like it's really not cool. Like I don't know why anybody would want to get into teaching, but one of the issues is right, and so and I remember what she said. What she said was, it's cool side money for her, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you're not even really in the struggle, because you don't even realize what this really entails. The majority of adjuncts and part-time professors or full-time professors that aren't tenured are individuals with PhDs who desire to be tenured. And so you got somebody who might come in for a few hours, do their job and roll. They cool with it because they got something else on the other side. They aren't as invested. I heard a lady, I was listening to Karen Hunter and Dr. Carr in class, and she said she teaches about 16 or 17 classes to make ends meet. And initially I laughed, like, yo, that's wild. And this was in the last 6 months. because I do teach at Dell State, and the money is okay. Again, when you juxtapose it with what they bring in, they just bought another university. They say, "Yo, give me that university right there. I'm taking you. You are now part of us." My pay don't reflect that boss move. You know what I mean? Even if it's kind of all right to look at, that pay don't reflect that boss moves. That boss move. And then when you do start to look at it, and it's the difference between a full time employee that's still not tenured versus an adjunct. I just applied for a full time position at LaSalle. Teach 3 classes. Like like fam, teach 3 classes and I get all this extra stuff. Mind you, last semester at Dell State I taught 4. Still trying to see what Medicaid talking about. You know what I mean? But it's the game, man. It's the game. Like it's the life I chose, but rather the life that chose me. And again, I forgot the whole purpose of me bringing this up. But you know, I'm just ranting. I'm just talking. There's a thought out there that says the powers that be keep us from talking about our salaries and pay to keep salaries down and keep us confused. I don't. I wouldn't even say it's a thought out there. That's factual. All you got to do is yeah, you probably did set me off, Marcel. All you got to do is go on higher ed jobs or go on Indeed. Is pay listed for these positions? No, because what would that look like? Right? It's not listed. In terms of your teaching, do you tend to be based only in the USA, or will you venture to other countries? That's a good question. That's something that I haven't thought about. I mean, where else would I teach besides, I guess, Africa? Like, I have no desire to teach white people, like personally or professionally. You know what I mean? So I that's unless it's like the University of Ghana, and I'm doing it remote from here, because unfortunately I'm still an American. Unless I really get my nigga wake up moment. You know, God bless the dead Paul Mooney. You get your nigga wake up moment, and you like, all right, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? But no, I haven't really considered teaching abroad. Maybe when I get older, if I'm not a traveling person. Like, that's not necessarily my thing. Like, I don't look to, go to this country, that country, and that could be blamed on white supremacy. If you don't know me by now, you know I'm gonna blame everything on white supremacy and colonization of the black mind. No, I mean, there definitely are plenty of blacks in different locations, right? But it would have to be a some type of institution that's predominantly black. So if they got a HBCU in London, I'm all there for it. But you're not gonna catch me at Oxford. I'm not about prestige and all of that. I'd rather be at Hampton than Harvard. Those are the people that I care about. You know what I mean? Which brings up, I saw an article and I didn't get a chance to read it fully, but I saw Malcolm Gladwell, who is Jamaican. Which, if you look at Malcolm Gladwell, you like, where's the Jamaican? But he's Jamaican. But he talked about HBCUs, and he talked about educators and how specifically when we talk about these rankings, these school rankings, and how HBCUs were literally teaching poor black and brown folk, right? Who we're trying to get up to speed, whatever that means, whatever that looks like, right? And how these rankings are bullshit. Nothing frustrates me more. I'll be honest. When I see black folk flock to Harvard or flock to Yale. Hell, the only reason I didn't go to a HBCU this time around is because they wasn't cashing me out, and maybe that could be the reason for them. But I think for other people, it's not really. For those who go to Harvard, it's not about monetary reasons. It's about that prestige. And so I think we buy into what their idea of an amazing education is. It's not going to be, what is it, Houston Tilston? Is that what the name of it is? Huston Tilston, something like that. It's a fly name. That's why I said it. But it's not going to be that people not going to flock there. Unfortunately, the perception of HBCUs, unless it's Howard, unless it's Spelman, unless it's Morehouse, or one of your bigger name schools, is that they're subpar academically. Who's going to change that narrative? That's Nicole Hannah Jones going to Howard was a beautiful thing, and she taking these millions of billions of dollars with her when she go there, and she gonna get cashed out. But damn, how powerful could it have been if it would have been Lincoln University that she went to, and the money she would have brought with her. Marcel says, HBCU never sent me a letter in high school. I didn't know anything about that for real growing up in Michigan. Now it makes sense. You grew up in Michigan. I couldn't afford the HBCU college tour. Had no idea what an HBCU college tour was. I did know about Bethune-Cookman. I have no idea how I found out about that. They didn't even give me a determination letter. Like I applied and I didn't even get a determination letter. And I think that's the great thing about children now and students now. They are aware. My brother goes to North Carolina A&T. You know, another uppity Negro school. But now she's like, yeah, I might go to North Carolina A&T. That exposure piece. Exposure is everything. Yeah, I don't know why I'm sitting here rapping longer than I typically would. You know, I was gonna bring up this this image because I posted it, and this probably be the last thing that I talk about because I'm tired. I can't lie. So if you're not watching, I don't know if y'all seen that viral picture. If you're watching on Instagram, unfortunately you can't see it. But this white man, this shit, it's fitting. This black man and this white woman in the plantation scene. I guess it was for their engagement photos. I have no idea who authorized this. I have no idea who man's this is. I'm not gonna say it's heartbreaking. I'm not gonna say it's frustrating. I'm just gonna say it's 2021. And so at this stage, if this brother if he don't understand, he's not irredeemable. You know what I mean? He still could come on home. Right? He still could come on home. But it's 2021. And if this is what you feel like you got to do, you and your white trophy wife, then by all means do it. And I'm not even knocking the fact that it's an interracial relationship. Listen, whatever makes you happy. All right? I'm about people finding love and happiness. Kylie says they intended to be salacious and good intention. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, huh, Nia? Wow, right? Wow. Like, I feel like, and I said this, like, when I first saw it, I was like, yo, Tyler Perry is wildin'. I'm like, Tyler Perry is wildin'. Because this is a Tyler Perry scene. It has to be. I feel like they enacted something from Big Mama, what was it? Big Mama's house, Medea's family, something. I feel like they reenacted a scene from there. You can't tell me this don't have Tyler written all over it. But a plot twist would be, yo, what if she black? You ain't think about that, huh? Just like I just said, Malcolm Gladwell was Jamaican, and I know some of y'all like, wait, hold up, let me go Google that. This might not be a white woman at all. She might be Jamaican too, right? Definitely a Dave Chappelle skit. I don't know how I feel about Dave in 2021. Like, I'm not a Dave comedy fan anyway. I like the Chappelle show. I don't know. Something about Dave. I think he's a genius, but it's I don't know. It's like a disconnect there for me. It's like a disconnect with Dave. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I just expect more. And maybe that's what it is with black celebrities, the black elite. I see LeBron. Shout out to LeBron. He just became a $1 billion athlete. I see the work that LeBron does. But there's still a disconnect that exists between LeBron and whatever somebody wants to define the average black person as being. Whatever your definition for that is, still a disconnect between LeBron and them. So yeah, you got a school, Promise Academy. It's a beautiful thing. Fuck, you need $1 billion for. And in the words of AOC, you don't make $1 billion, you take $1 billion. And I'm kind of upset about them Space Jam sneakers that I bought. I feel like if I return them, does that make his net worth go down? Because I mean, they damn near cost me my whole my whole Grand Canyon check in totality. Not really. You know what I mean? I don't know, and people equate it to being jealousy, equated to me being jealous. I don't know. You just sit and you think about what could be if 500 of that million of that billion was elsewhere. So I see Chris Paul, right? They talking about if he opts out of his $44 million contract and he wanted to sign with the Lakers, he gonna get he gonna get roughly $8 to $9 million. And I was like, that'll be bad for his business. That'll be bad for his family. And it's just like they playing in my face. Like, don't play in my face. Numbers that I probably won't see, and I'm okay with that. I think the majority of this the statistic that says the socioeconomic status that you're born into is the one you'll probably die in. That's not fiction. It exists for a reason. Marcel says I need to be his outreach or change agent consultant. Have no desire, man. Like I said the other day, I'm lying. I do want to be a celebrity. I need to speak my truth. I think I'm better than a lot of motherfuckers out there. And I know my mama watching this. Hey, mom. But I'm doper than a lot of motherfuckers out there. But I'm going to blame white supremacy for why I'm not there. You know what I mean? I'm gonna blame white supremacy while I'm not there. Nah, it's like what I'm gonna do with LeBron. What do you tell LeBron? Oh, I appreciate you, man. You back on my good side now, Marcel. What do I tell LeBron? Like, I'm not here for the especially if that ain't been my man for a long time. Like, there's probably no way that LeBron and I could be friends. It's definitely no way like Kevin Durant and I could be friends. He say educate him. Nah, it's not. I think the money has made is it's too enormous for education to take place. You know what I mean? I think the money is too ginormous for any type of education in any type of way to take place. Because the first time I say, yo, you gotta get rid of that, you gotta give at least half that billion up. All right, peace out, kid. Oh yeah, no doubt, education is important, and I think all of our voices have power for sure. All right, it's just like especially growing up in hip hop, you want to be the man. So right, all this stuff I talk about, like I talk about this all the time. Like everybody want to be Jordan, nobody want to be James. Still don't understand what that rap line means because I don't know who James is. But everybody wants to be the celebrity. Nobody wants to be the person in the background. You got 20 nonprofits doing the same work when you could have one or two or five truly thriving. But what gets in the way? Ego, ego, and ego. Ownership, right? We got to own. We got to own. Nobody wants to sit in the back. And it's difficult, right? It's difficult sometimes to sit in spaces where you got more information, you got more knowledge than the people that's talking. Prime example, right? And I don't say this with, um, I and part of it, yeah. Matter of fact, I'll say it just because it is part of it is ego. Like, so I joined the National Association of Black Social Workers, right? The NABSW, and I went into the meeting, and I'm sitting listening to the elders talk, and I'm like, yo, y'all need, you know what I mean? You know how a young person is when they get in the room. Even though I didn't say it, I'm sitting there thinking like, no, man, you know what? Y'all gotta let me take over. Let me do X, Y, and Z, but then it's just like Phil. Like, bro, you just showed up. Like, people got skin in the game. Yeah, they might handle it a little differently, right? But that's not your role. That's not your role right now. And that could be humbling for people. Who has the awareness to say, and it's not bigging myself up, but who has the awareness to say, all right, you know what? This ain't my time to lead. It might not even be meant for me to lead in this specific, in my case, group or organization. Maybe it's best for me to sit and watch and learn. And so, I mean, due to school, I haven't been to many of the meetings, but I do get the communication. And I'm like, how the heck I'm sitting there looking at some of the documentation that they send out. And the only thing I understood was minutes. That was it. I know minutes is like a recording. But some of the bylaws and all of this stuff have no idea what they're talking about. Because I have no idea how any of this operates. And so having an ego is not a bad thing. Just like a little bit of hating. Hating ain't a bad thing. It's what you do with it. How can I harness this and shift it to be something better? Kali says heroism. Everybody want to be the savior. That's the true indoctrination. I mean, is that a bad thing though? Right? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like in practice in people's lives in the day to day. Maybe in certain spaces it saves them, it serves them, in others it don't. That's usually how it goes. But there's no doubt in my mind. Shout out to Steve today. He said Ben Simmons. Right? You gotta tell me more about Ben Simmons. What? Educate Ben? I don't. What else? What do you say to a man? I could work with a Ben Simmons before I could work with a LeBron James. And that's just because it's. I think it will be easier. It says it stems from an internal anxiety. Oh, me saying I couldn't be friends with LeBron or Kevin. I mean, I can't be friends with nobody that dated a Kardashian. That's just one of my rules. You know what I mean? It stems from an internal anxiety. Again, I don't want to over pathologize, man. And I think that's where we go wrong in today's society too. I think the internet is full of people who just want to yell at everybody and dunk on them. Like the shit is miserable. Like I'll be honest, like getting on social media on a daily day to day basis. I wish I wasn't addicted, but social media is legit miserable. And people say it's about who you follow and all of that. Yeah, that plays a part in it. But social media is really just like watching ABC, the news. You're gonna get like 2 to 3 minutes of some fun stuff, some good stuff, some feel good stuff. And then the rest of it is nonsense, no matter who it is that you follow. Because I don't think any of us follow anybody that's eternally optimistic. Even like I follow a lot of Jesus folk. I'm telling you, Jesus folk make you the maddest. Or maybe that's just me. Right? Like why the hell are you so happy with Jesus? I'm not the only one that looks at it and says that. Like life can't be that peachy keen. You just showing the now people will think like I'm a strong atheist or something. But no, it's just like no, let's be real. Like people like I just want give me realness. I mean, the Jesus Marcelo says, "What did Jesus folk do? They be Jesus folking." And some people that I enjoy and like in life are Jesus folk. They're some of the most intelligent, sweetest, nicest people in the world, funniest. But I'm like, I just be like, yo, fam, give yourself some credit. That's really when it frustrates me. Like, thank the Lord, I got this job. Like, damn, thank yourself first, then thank Jehovah. You know what I mean? Like, thank yourself. But I know it's kind of taboo, and I ain't gonna spend it because I know I'm probably gonna lose like a whole bunch of followers from. That's why I don't talk about. That's why I don't talk about shit on here, like on social media. If y'all knew my true feelings about some of this stuff, man. But hey, that's the game. I've been here a long time. Why I still got this picture of these white people up? I mean, you get what I'm saying. He not white, but they white. Like they white together. I don't know. No shade, Steve. I know you too did, man. Appreciate you. I don't know. Ain't anything else happening? I'm gonna click and see. Saying I'm having a good time. Nah, you know what? I just got finished grading. I just finished one of my assignments. Mississippi asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Oh, so this official rough whistle. So they asked today. So Mississippi Attorney General asked the Supreme Court today to overturn the landmark case Roe v. Wade, which will bar most abortions after 15 weeks. Hey, this ain't my game. This ain't my fight. I mean, I'll stand alongside, you know what I mean, and speak truth to power with the people. But who am I to tell somebody what to do with their body? That's just not how I operate. Do you think it's weird if your friends are still friends with your ex, but you're not? It's interesting we having this conversation about friends and friends with exes. See, I'm somebody who I think friends exes can be friends, right? As long as there's no blurred lines, there's some understanding. Just like I think individuals of the opposite sex can be friends. I'm not going down this rabbit hole at all. I'm backing out. I'm backing out. I'm backing out. With that said, man, listen, it's been a what that clock say? An hour and 1 minute. I gotta go watch David Makes Man, episode 4. I'll catch up with y'all. Thanks for coming through. Peace.